So this is my review of my top game for 2014. Are any of you surprised that it's Dragon Age Inquisition? I know my wife isn't, because even when I did my last video, she's like, it's Dragon Age, isn't it? I've been sitting here watching you play it for hours on end for the last 3 months. So obviously, it's Dragon Age. For me, not only is it the best game of 2014, but for me, it is actually the best RPG I've ever played. Now, to be honest, that might be overselling it a bit, but this is my personal opinion, so fuck off. Yeah, it's for me, it's better than Skyrim, it's better than Final Fantasy, all of those types of games pale in comparison to this one. To begin with, when you start the game, you have a very extensive character creation capabilities for your character. You, of course, have the traditional human, dwarf, and elf, but they've also added in the Qunari that you can play, which is really cool, and they've integrated them into the story nicely. You don't interact with very many during the game, except, of course, for Iron Bull, which I will get into later. But, yeah, the Qunari have a very rich and interesting history to them, which you get to learn a bit about if you regularly talk to your Qunari companion, Iron Bull. Furthermore, there's a significant amount of gameplay. There's about 100 hours plus, depending on how extensive you go. I hit around the 90-hour mark, and I didn't do everything that I could. I was just getting a little bit... I was getting a little tired, honestly. I was feeling really drawn out by the end. I was still enjoying it, but I had other games I needed to play. I had other things I had to do. This game was consuming my life, and I needed to get some of that back. So I went and I did the end game, and so I could see what it was before I did my review, and it was pretty awesome. This is the first game that I've invested that much time into. 90 hours worth of gameplay is a lot for me. The most prior to that I would say I've ever done was maybe 40, and that was Assassin's Creed Black Flag a year and a half ago. So yeah, this more than doubles that. That tells you how much for me as a casual gamer. Honestly, I'm a casual gamer. I'm not hardcore as much as I want to be. I don't have the time for it. I've got a family, I've got a wife, kids, and a job. Within this world, you of course have your map. It goes over Orlais and Ferelden, and there are 10 areas for you to explore primarily. There are lots of other places that you can go for short jaunts, like there might be mission-specific places that you can go, you do those items, and then you move on. And they disappear from your map once you're done with that quest. But there are 10 places that you can regularly just go to once you've unlocked them, and those individual places can have anywhere between 5 and 10 hours of gameplay apiece. So, I mean, again, these are all fleshed out and interesting places, interesting NPCs and stories, different terrain and environment and a feel to them, and it just really captured my imagination. As far as characters go, you have 9 companions that you can collect over the course of the game, in addition to 3 advisors that you regularly can interact with. And a couple of other NPCs that get thrown in. They don't really fall into either of those categories, but they're there. You get to interact with multiple characters from previous games, and most of these individuals have a very in-depth backstory. If you haven't played the other games, you can talk to them and you can learn a lot more about it. Not just from what happened in previous games, but what's happened since then, because we haven't seen some of these people since the previous games, and this is your opportunity to catch up on what's been happening with them. And of course, each character has its own set of side quests that you can do for them. They have their own personalities. You can easily piss off random guy, but regardless of what you do, I've never seen an instance in which one of them will be so upset that they will leave the group. But then again, I didn't do anything really outlandish with my first character. I usually play it pretty close to what I will do, which is not that tyrannical, to be honest. I'm pretty fair and compassionate when it comes to my characters and my actions. And so when I get to a point when I feel like playing through this again, then I will play the tyrant to try and get that other side of the story, because we all know that it's always going to be different. There are multiple choices that you can make in these games that really impact what happens. The end game is always going to be the same, but how you get there is the big question about how that's going to be changing and different. But again, with all these characters, by far the most interesting for me was Iron Bull. He is this huge Qunari. He's got these giant horns and an eye patch, and he's easily the most outgoing character within the entire group. He tells jokes. He's constantly throwing out one-liners and zingers. He's messing with the other people in the party, making fun of them. And he seems like an average Joe. You see this gigantic, scary person, and he's not. He's kind of a teddy bear, but at the same time, he's really not. Because he's totally into violence and killing, but he's a really nice guy, and he's really into sex. Yes, that is his aspiration in life, to go from place to place, fulfill his duty, and have sex with everyone who's there. If that may be you, you can romance him whether you're male or female, because the Kunari don't care about that type of thing. It's all about the physical pleasure, not the sex of the individual. As I was playing with my character, I started with a female elf. I actually wasn't sure who I wanted to romance, to be honest, so I kept doing the random romance options for everyone to see who would be the most inclined towards my character and how I was acting. And I thought that that felt much more true. Not the flirting with everyone part, but instead of me picking someone and trying to win them over, finding someone who's actually naturally drawn to me as a character and a person. Because, as I said, I play the character like I play myself, as if I were a character. But with that came my interactions with Blackwall, and this is where I got really emotionally invested in this game, and that is one of the biggest reasons of why this is so amazing. So, I started a romance with Blackwall, and he is a Grey Warden, and something happens. I'm always complimentary to him, saying, hey, you're a really great guy, why are you always so morose? What the fuck, dude? And he ends up, he's always sad, and so he's like, you know what, I just can't do this anymore. I can't be the person you think I am, and so I have to leave. And he left, and that was it. I didn't get an option to try and stop him or anything, he was just gone. And so my next quests were, like, where the fuck did he go? What's going on? And you track him down, you find out what's going on with him and why. And after getting slightly invested in this relationship with this person, having him say, I'm not worthy of you, and then leaving in a very emotional manner, I myself was like, what the hell just happened? I got a little choked up and I was upset. This person I was symbolically starting to care for was gone. There was a hole in my life, in my virtual life, and it was upsetting. Oh, and this randomly reminds me, I have to share one of the awesome stories that Iron Bull talks about, which is he's trying to get Blackwall to join him in his group, and for Iron Bull to be his leader, because he's got a mercenary group. It's like, you'd be a great mercenary. He's like, yes, but I need a cause to fight for. It's like, well, I believe in No Pants Fridays. It's like, what? No, I said I need a cause. Well, to me, that is a cause. And I nearly spat. I was drinking and I nearly spat it all over my TV because that was just so it was so unexpected and amazingly funny to come from that character. And this was when I was first starting to really get to know him, and I loved it. And you're going to love it too, believe me. Keep him in your party. He's just fantastic to listen to, just talking to whoever's there. Let's get more broad here. The story is fantastically epic. There are sweeping camera shots of landscapes. Your character is very much in the middle of all of this, and you conveniently have amnesia. And this is not because you're building your history as a character. It's a side effect of something that happened, and as the story progresses, you find out how and why you have amnesia. So instead of shoving backstory down your throat, you get to learn it as you play, which I think eases you into that a little more. And as your character's learning, you're learning, and it makes it easier for you to step into that person's shoes and act as they would. And that, again, one more reason that I really enjoyed that. Some of the things that were happening were so big and grand. It was breathtaking and amazing, and I actually had to relate it to myself, as in like watching one of the Lord of the Rings movies. At one point you're trekking through the mountain, through the snow, and you've got this camera angle going all the way around you as you're like all walking up with these hundreds of people following you from the place that just was destroyed, and you're finding this new home in this castle fortress, Skyhold. And then the camera goes, and Skyhold, and it's like, woo, and you're like, it's amazing. And I was actually surprised at how moving some of these little things could be. Games lately have been just really blowing me out of the water, and I'm excited. And I'm like, please let there be another game. I'm like, can you throw one out next year? No, that would be a horrible idea, because they really need to put a lot of effort into a game like this. But when they do, because it is a when, it's not an if, this is too awesome, they will do another, I will be all over that shit. You do have some customization options. You can make weapons, you can make armor, you can tweak them, you can add like little, it's not a gem per se, runes, that's what they are, and stuff like that, and items to fill slots to make weapons and armor better. So you do have some definite options there. So when you're going through this world, kill animals, mine ore, pick herbs, because you're gonna need them. You're gonna fucking need a lot of them too to do all these things. Because you can also upgrade your potions. Basic healing potion might do 100 points of healing. Well, later when you have a shit ton of health, that doesn't do enough. So you upgrade it. Now it gives you 200 points or 250, and as you keep going up. The graphics, of course, are amazing. They're breathtaking. The rendering on the characters was really well done. The mouth movements syncing with the way they were talking was actually really impressive. I saw very few glitches. Actually, off the top of my head, I can only think of a couple, and that was usually someone standing still and moving. I saw someone do that through a closed gate. It was one of those like portcullises, and it was down, and the person standing on the other side, and they're like, they were just ghosting through. Again, nothing game breaking, nothing at all when I played through. Just cute little quirks here and there that didn't affect me at all. The voice acting was really good. Again, back to Iron Bull. This is the only voice actor that I really recognized when I saw who did it. And it's not, I didn't recognize him when I heard him. There's no way you're going to figure out who this is just by listening to his voice. But by gods, it is Freddie Prinze Jr. I shit you not. It is Fred from Scooby-Doo. And all those other horrible movies from the 90s. But I watched a video of him doing this voice and talking about his love of gaming, and he sold me, not only on himself, but his abilities as a voice actor. I watched him, and he'd really get into it. He was really expressive, and the way his mouth moved. And he got into the character, and he got into his head, too, so that he would know how to act. And it was really... It's great to know that an actor and a voice actor really gets into their character like that. And I know that he's not the only one who does that, but to be honest, before now I had little to no respect for him as an actor, because there isn't much that I've seen him do, and what I did see wasn't that great. He was just a pretty boy in the 90s, and people cast him to be a pretty boy in the 90s. And so he did well at that, but outside of that, he fell flat for me, and now he's earned a little bit of my respect, and I think that that's cool, and I hope to see him in other games, because he's proven he has a knack for this type of thing, and I think that's cool. Each map, each of these little areas, these 10 areas, have a significant amount of collectibles. You can get shards, which you can use to open up like a hidden temple at a later point, which you need dozens of these shards, you know, because each part of the temple has a door. There's 3 different areas and all this other stuff. So you can get a few and you can open a door and do something, but you're going to need more to get into different areas. So it's not, go get 100 and then we'll let you in. It's go get 10 and then you can get in this one. Go get 10 more, you can go in that one. So it's a nice graduated system, plus you unlock fast travel places, items for quests. Everything has a purpose in this. There are these things you go to and you can look at the stars and you have to draw a constellation, and there's 3 in a map, and you find all 3 and it points you to the secret door, and once that secret door is open there's lots of loot in there. And once in there I look around and to me it looks like something out of a weird Tron-like future. It's got the light lines drawing all over the place, and I want to know what that is, because I've looked through some of the history of Thetis, and there's nothing that touches on what that is or where it's coming from. That seems really odd, and I'm hoping that we get more on that in the next game, because I think there's something going on there that we just don't know what it is, and that's awesome. Of course, one of the big things in this game is dragons. It's Dragon Age, right? So you get to fight and kill dragons. There are 10 dragons for you to kill, technically 11 because you do get to fight the evil bad guy dragon toward the end of the game. I was a little paranoid I didn't go straight toward the dragons when I could, because I knew that they would just kill me. I looked up online, found out what level they were, I made sure I was beating them at least a little bit. And big tip, Vivian is a dragon slayer. She doesn't do it all herself, but her abilities, she can create buffs and give you shields to the point where you're just not going to take damage. And it's amazing. And having her in my party when she was fully leveled, I was knocking out dragons that were a higher level than me. I took out a level like 22 dragon and I was only like 20 at best. and it was like the most scary dragon, and that was after I accidentally fell down a hole and we were all at half health to begin with. That was shitty, and I still kicked his ass. So, but with that comes, yay, 10 dragons. The problem that I have is all the dragons act alike. They're boring as hell. They stand in front of you, they hop around, they will spin. Every once in a while they might fly in the air, and then they will fly up and back. They'll shoot you with fireballs or ice or electricity, whatever their shtick is, and then they'll land and it will do it again. Some of them don't even fly in the air. They'll just sit on the ground, hop around, and try and claw at you and use their breath weapon. And you just keep punching them in the face and you kill them. There was not nearly enough thought put into this. Sometimes they'll call minions, like little baby dragons run up and try and kill you. Well, yeah, having trash to take care of makes it more challenging, but it doesn't make it more interesting. It really doesn't. So I'm hoping the next game they can improve upon that, but at the same time, I still felt awesome every time I killed a dragon. It was epic, they left behind some really awesome items, and I didn't feel wanting after I killed a dragon, but by the time I'd killed all of them, I felt like there was something missing. I don't regret it. I still will go back and kill all those sons of bitches again, but there needs to be a little bit more in the next iteration. Hear that? You listening? Fix it. One thing I do think was missing from this game is we didn't get to see the deep roads. We didn't go to Orzammar or anything like that. I would have liked to have fought some darkspawn down in the deep roads, and I think that would have been cool. But that was the one thing that was missing. There weren't really that many underground levels or anything like that. It was all out in the open, swamps, deserts, forests, but no underground. You might go in caves here and there, but those were small stints within a large map. I'm talking about one gigantic fucking map, all underground. Now, the biggest problem with this game is a really stupid problem, and it should be really easily fixed, but it's still the biggest problem, and everyone knows it. And the biggest problem is the loading screens. Yes, the loading screens are excessively long. It made me want to bash myself in the face with my controller over and over and over again. They had a lot of potential. Sure, you might be stuck in front of a loading screen for a minute. A full freaking minute. Sometimes even up to 2. I'd go to the bathroom and come back and my game would finally be loaded, or I'd run and grab a snack or some shit. But the loading screens, they had a lot of potential because they'd pop up and they'd give you lore about Thetis or information about a character or a creature. And you're like, hey, this is neat, I'll read this. And it disappears after 10 seconds. And then you have to be stuck there for the rest of that minute, minute and a half, 2 minutes with a black screen. There's a tiny icon over in the corner of the screen, like right there, and it kind of flashes gray so you know something's happening. You're not frozen, but that's all you get to stare at for a minute and a half, and it's really fucked up and stupid. No, that needs to be fixed. But on the bright side, that's the biggest problem with this game, is loading screens. That's pretty awesome when you think about it, that the biggest problem is it takes a long time to load. Well, you know, I'm hanging out in this area for the next 5 hours. I'm not going to see a loading screen till then. But once you get toward the end of the game, you start bouncing from here to over there, back down here and up there. You have to do a loading screen in between because some missions will take you from place to place. On the bright side, though, fast travel within one area, the loading screen is actually really fast. You're talking 5 to 10 seconds. I've had it just like 3 or 4 before. Like if you're in the hinterlands and you're going to the hinterlands, over on the right, it's fast, and that's awesome. That's the way it should be for everything, but I understand how expansive these maps are. They are huge in some places. So yeah, I think you can all guess what my feelings are about this game. I love it. It has a few small problems. A little bit better combat with the dragons would be nice. Less loading screen. And one other small thing is I was playing for 90 hours and got to level 23. That seems like that's an average of 1 level every 4 hours. I would really like to see it be a little more frequent. Make the leveling less powerful if you want to. I'm okay with that, but I like to see it a little bit more often. I just hate playing for that long and not seeing my character progress or change. And I wasn't getting gear drops all that often either, because half of it was like, well, you're required to be this level. Well, I'm right below that level. I'll get it in 3 hours. I mean, make it graduated if you want to. Make the first few really quick and the last ones real slow, but they were all real slow. I mean, the first 4 or 5 were quick, but after that I was like, yeah. But even with all that, slow leveling, mediocre dragon fights, and shitty ass loading screens, I still give this game 5 companions romanced out of 5. So, we will see you again here real soon. I have 2 more video game related videos I want to do. I'm going to be doing a review of Saints Row Re-Elected with its DLC and the Gat Out of Hell, as well as my top anticipated games for 2015. There's nothing really good coming out till at least May, in my opinion. So that gives me a little bit of time. I've already got my items picked out, but I will definitely have these posted in the next couple weeks. So we'll see you again real soon. Let me know what you think of Dragon Age. Give me a comment, a like, subscribe, and a share. And I will see you next time. Good night.